let me ask you this, Dele Atanda. First of all, how are the Meta Knights doing? And where, now that Facebook changed its name, how do you feel about that? Do you feel like they straight like I'm never calling them Meta. I'm always gonna call them
Exactly.
Facebook. They mama named them Facebook. I'm gonna call them Facebook forever. They will never get a name change. We will never forget. Sorry.
No, I'm completely with you. And I think, we've been talking about that. I think that's one of the ways we resist. We don't call them Meta, we call them Facebook. Facebook has become arguably the most toxic brand on the planet right now, right? I mean, even if you think about all of those brands that had issues, Philip Morris, BP, Exxon, none of those have got like genocide, teenage
Well,
suicide.
wait a minute. Hold on.
Yeah,
A
all
couple of them
right.
got a little genocide in there.
Yeah,
Couple of them
bits
have
of
killed a whole generation. A couple of them have either poisoned the waters and made it impossible for the fish to live, and we're suffering, or gave people cancer. So
That's
let's
true. Yeah, that's
let's
true. You're right there, and it's like the dirty energy. But when you look at the amount of teenage suicide, that's directly linked to Instagram now, for example. When you look at insurrection, when you look at the rise of white supremacy in this country, when you look at January 6th, this is all laid at Facebook's feet. So,
I'm going to push back again, and let's have a conversation. 866-801-8255. Can you blame? Can you blame? Okay. Can you blame the alcohol for the alcoholic's genes being turned on? Can you blame the alcohol maker for the alcoholic's gene? So, yeah, I think America, probably the world, has racism as its gene. It's like it's encoded into the genetics of this country. All Facebook did was tap into something that was already there. I believe, like, I could never be a crackhead. I could never be a coke addict. I could never be a heroin. I could say that with supreme confidence. I could never be an alcoholic. It's just not, I'm not wired that way, right? Now, I do have an extreme type A personality, but I also, in that control freakishness, I'm never going to put myself in a situation to take that first hit of crack, because I probably would be a crackhead if I did it. So I just feel like, in many ways, Facebook fed into what America is. And let's sit there for a minute, because we're in some strange waters right now. And you're raising children. A lot of you are raising children. The number here is 866-801-8255. We're in a world right now where many of our children don't know what real news is. I got a message from somebody who was thanking me for Saturday's class, because in class with Carr, Dr. Carr is invariably going to hold up a newspaper, whether it's the Financial Times or the Wall Street Journal or something, and he's going to talk from the headlines. And a lady emailed me and she said, my 5-year-old was watching, and she said, Mommy, what's a newspaper? And I
right.
was like, whoa, we're in some very strange waters right now, where we're raising a generation of people who don't know a world without devices, who don't know a world without being indoctrinated in a very willful way in terms of everything. They're being commercials are being inundated in our video games, on our apps. Children are being taught every single day what they should like and what they should not like. Before, the propaganda was subtle. Now it is so prevalent, to the point where I don't know how we even begin to have conversations anymore with our young people in terms of what's real and what's not. And now we're talking about a whole metaverse, a whole virtual world that many of them are already in video games. So
Absolutely.
what is this going to mean for the future, when we have a generation of young people who never played kickball, never played hot peas and butter, don't know about Uno or Monopoly, don't know what happens when it rains, and playing double dutch and jacks and hide and go seek? Mother May I. We were freaking out over Squid Games primarily because those games tapped into a childhood that is forever gone. And what does it mean to a society where those games, which help children develop skills working together, how to lose with grace or not? I was a sore ass loser as a kid, so let me just say I would throw a tantrum. But it taught certain skills that I feel like these young folk coming up don't have. That said, I think they're also more humane than the previous generations. But what are your thoughts on that, Dele?
Yeah, I mean, look, there's a lot there. I think the thing is, when you have to look at society holistically, right? Remember, this is the same America that in 2008, where people rallied together under the banner of new hope and a new dream. And were working towards a new progressive future. You know, it was Americans, it was the people of America that voted Obama in. And what we're seeing, though, and this really came out in 2016, is that information matters. You know, the information that people are provided matters. That's how we shape our worldview. And we're living in this situation now where there's a fight against facts, there's a fight against truth. And it's now just become a game of power and media might in that regards. And, you know, Facebook is very much aware of this. And this is where I take issue with Facebook. You know, back in 2013, Facebook did this experiment where they sent like a few 100,000 people negative tweets and a few 100,000 people positive tweets. And they did this study and they came out with this term that they called emotional contagion. And what they saw was that people who they sent negative tweets to, or sorry, negative posts to, got more depressed, and that they shared them with other people, and then more people got depressed as such. Now, when you look at 2016, you can see that, well, actually, when Facebook does these kind of things, it's almost like they're doing ads to run to say, look at the capabilities that we've got. And I accept what you're saying, that, you know, you have a personality, you know, you're not going to be a crackhead, you know, you're not going to be an alcoholic. But there are lots of people who are on the fringes. You know, there are lots of people who voted for Obama, for example, who voted for Trump. And what we see is that there is this social consciousness. There's a kind of collective vibe that's going around. So when Obama was voted in, of course, there were white supremacists and racists in the society, but they were ostracized, right? They were pushed out to the fringes. They weren't accepted as the norm. But what Facebook did, and what we saw very clearly, and this is well documented now in the Trump election and in the Brexit, was they identified these persuadables. You know, that was what Cambridge Analytica really worked on. They identified these people who could be pushed, who could be nudged, who could be influenced. And then they started to bombard them with influencing information. And you have to look back to December of last year, when Facebook was going up against Congress and say, you know, and everyone was up in arms about political ads. And Facebook refused to ban political ads that were misinforming people. And everybody was like, well, it was a bit weird, right? Because Twitter did.
Why wouldn't you, right?
Why wouldn't you? Because it represented such a small amount of their revenue. It wasn't for commercial reasons. But what we see is that it's because of power. And Facebook understand that they want to have this power to manipulate and influence society. So, you know, I do think that they are fully aware of what their system does. You know, the same was exposed with YouTube and Facebook. Their algorithms work on the more hate, the more sensational information that they put out there, the more attention it grabs, because it's more basic, right? And if you're appealing to people's more basic human nature rather than their elevated human nature, you know, you need to do it with crude things. Mm-hmm. And they prioritize that because that generates attention and that generates revenue for them over factual information. And it's dangerous.
866-801-8255. I would love to have a conversation about this, because as you're talking, the only difference, I don't think anything has changed, is the delivery system, right? So I'm reading Ed Bernays', and I assigned it to both of my journalism classes this semester, Ed Bernays' Propaganda. He wrote that book in the 1930s. He's credited as being the father of propaganda, which is using influencers, because he's like, how do you reach the masses? Well, you find a handful of influencers, you couple that with the media, with newspapers at that time, and then you direct the message, right? People have been doing this power play since the dawn of man, right? He gave voice to it. And then you fast forward, as you're talking, I'm thinking about Oprah. Oprah came up in a space after Phil Donahue, where there was, you know, conversations around how people can improve themselves. And she took that to the next level. During her reign, they came out with this very toxic Jerry Springer, Maury Povich, You Are Not the Father, Ricky Lake, Jenny Jones. It was like a whole string of these hosts with these ridiculous, outlandish fighting, throwing chairs. And Oprah, for the first time, became second and third in markets. She was no longer number one. And there was a push for her to do exactly what everyone else was doing because that's where the shift was, right? That's where the money, that's where the advertisers. And she held on and she said, I'm going to stick with this positive content. Eventually, people eating this crap will come back. I have a question though. And she was right. They did come back. They came back because how much of this can you consume unless that's who we are right now, right? So my question is, can we fix this, right? Can we use technology? Now we have Facebook and Reddit and Twitter and the Clubhouse and Snapchat and TikTok and Flip-Flop and all of this stuff. Video games, I think even more so, video games and Facebook, because there are conversations going on within video games that parents know nothing about. There are secret, private conversations and toxic, horrific conversations going on in those headbuds and those ear sets and those controls on Xbox and PlayStation and all these spaces that y'all don't even know about, that I believe is also contributing to this. How can we use technology, those people who have children, those people who are listening who are young themselves, because every one of us, just like every one of us we're imbued with anti-blackness from the womb. We have to fight, even people with melanin, all the people with melanin, people with melanin that speak speak Urdu and Tagalog, people who speak Spanish, people who speak every language with melanin. You have anti-black tenets in your psyche. You're born with it. You're born to hate black people. Yeah. So those of us who are black, we have to fight. We have to fight our own selves to love one another. How do we use technology to do that?
That's a great question, and I have to avoid getting too derailed by the Facebook conversations because I think that's the problem, right? And what we need
because
to do
you're mad that they took your name, so just
be
honest.
And I can tell you stories, and they've been tracking us. They've been tracking us, Karen. I can tell you stories about where they sent us. They invited us to join this accelerator, and they sent us this most ridiculous NDA that you can imagine. It was like sign your life away and sign away the right to talk about Facebook forever. And we were among a few privacy companies that they approached. And I read it and I looked at it. I was like, this is ridiculous. We're not doing this. I sent it back. 5 minutes later, they sent like a very normal standard mutual NDA. So one, they've been tracking us. Two, they're very unethical at core and they exploit people as soon as they can. So yeah, I do take it very personally, them stealing our name, but it's not really just our name, because I think the metaverse is really a movement, and it's a movement of many entities and many decentralized entities. I think that they see us specifically as a real threat to them, and they're trying to meta wash themselves, with the Meta brand. But we're coming for them. We're coming for them, and Meta Knights is coming for them hard. And you're right. The technology is actually part of the solution. I think that's a really important thing for us to understand. The technology is part of our liberation. The technology is not the problem. It's the people behind the technology and how they're using it. So yeah, I'm really excited. You've been supporting Meta Knights from day one. We've got so much love for you. I've got a present for you today, by the way. So don't let me forget. That's the before
it's not my
we
birthday.
finish.
It's not Christmas. Okay,
you deserve a present every day,
right.
Karen.
I've been getting a message, spiritual message to receive, something that I'm not really good at. Not really good at receiving. I'm real great at giving. I love to give. I don't receive very well. So I am going to receive your gift with grace and happiness. Bring it on, Dele. I'm changing my attitude about that. Dele Atanda is here. He is, of course, an entrepreneur, innovator, author. You can follow him at Agent, like Archangel, but with an agent, Arc, ARK, Agent. What is your company, before we get into Meta Knights and Meta Me, what is it that you do for people? We've been rocking for a long time, so of course I know who you are and what you do. I didn't even properly introduce you because it's like family. But tell people what it is that you do and why it's important.
Basically, we focus on giving people digital human rights. That's really, there's 3 layers to our organization. The Internet Foundation is really focused on digital human rights. We work on policy and regulation. We're working with the state of New York on the New York Privacy Act, for example, which will be a landmark in terms of data regulation. And then MetaMe effectively then builds tools that bring those rights to life. And that's to your question about what kind of technologies can we deliver. So we've been focused for a while using a lot of decentralized like blockchain and crypto technologies to put tools into people's hands that give them data sovereignty. So, and then Meta Nights is then our media, where we kind of really address the mind and really the why of the space and why is this stuff important. And I think one of the things that's really exciting for me personally from Meta Nights is that we've really been able to decode this whole surveillance economy and look at it particularly from an African perspective, from a perspective of Black people or people who are African descendants, because it's, you know, this surveillance has a very different meaning for us. You know, we saw very clearly last summer that people who were protesting at Black Lives Matter protests, for example, were being targeted by ICE people, whether illegal immigrants, or for other sort of misdemeanors and or whatnot. So when it comes to that level of surveillance, you know, we have to be, I think it hits us harder than anyone else. And in my opinion, to be honest with you, you know, I often talk about the dirty data economy and compare it to dirty energy. And, you know, we're working towards creating a clean data economy similar to clean energy. But when you look at them both, really, they're both extractive. You know, it's really the energy is pulling out the oil from, you know, our, you know, life's ancestors, right? The entire species, the whole planet's ancestors, and using that for this industrial nightmare that's killing the planet, literally. And then the fangs are basically doing the same thing in cyberspace, where they're extracting our data, but the difference is we're alive and kicking, and they're pulling this stuff from us now. But it's all towards the same goal and same end, which is control and power. And for me, in that sense, and one of the things that we're really focused on in the Meta Knight saga in that regards is really understanding this is a infrastructure for maintaining white supremacy. And that is what we're really at core battling when we're dismantling all this stuff, trying to make the world more human-centric, more distributed, where power is more equally distributed among all the people.
All right, there are some people right now who just fell asleep. 866-801-8255. Not because you are boring, not because you're boring, but because for many of us, we can't, you know, our brains, and I'm in that category. We were talking about NFTs. Kareem has been trying to get me in this NFT space, and I said I'll come into it when I understand it. Right now, I don't understand it enough to invest. I got a limited amount of bandwidth. I can't invest a whole lot of energy into something I don't understand. Then we have people who run headlong into things. Like a whole bunch of people bought Shiba Inu. A whole bunch of people went out and bought Dogecoin because everybody was buying. A lot of people did the GameStop thing after they entice you to come in so you can make them billionaires richer. We'll run in and do something without any research. A lot of people, I'm not getting a vaccine until I do my own research. Okay, do you have a lab? Do you know how to read medical, you know, reports? No, you didn't go to medical school. Okay, you're going to do your own research. How's that going to work out? I don't know. So we have like this varying, you know, levels of ignorance, which will which is why I think we are prone to doing base things. Which is why we like concerts and music. We'll like, you know, the strip clubs and fried chicken. We like the things that are simple for us to digest and understand. But this is the stuff that's going to free us, which is why I'm committed to Tech Tuesday every Tuesday, even if it's tough for some of you, and I'm included. Like, I've had to get out of my Luddite ways to really lean in because Elon Musk is looking at $1 billion tax bill. So he's selling off Tesla. But think about $1 billion tax bill. How much did you make that you owe $1 billion to the I, the R, and the S? Damn, he became the richest man in the world during a pandemic off of tech that's shaky. His Tesla ain't dope. I mean, it's not the dopest electric car out there, but he's a great marketer. But the tech is real. You know, the Walmart I think it's Walmart, which was one of these companies is Ford just announced No. It's a major. I think it's Walmart. I talked about it yesterday. They're going to be using Tesla semi trucks, like
Wow.
the semi trucks,
Wow.
self driving, is here, right? That's the wave of the future. And if we're not in it, Pepsi, thank you, Smith. I knew it was a major company. Pepsi
Right.
announced yesterday that is going to be using a fleet of semi trucks from Tesla. And I'm like, the world has changed right before us. And some of us are still like dial up using the 8 track and cassettes and stuff. Like, come on, y'all. So tell us, Dele, why is this so important for particularly folk who are marginalized, folk who have
Mm.
always come last to the internet? Why is this important for us to understand and really try to break through our own, resistance?
Okay, I've got some good news for you. I've got a lot of good news on this one, right? Firstly, you're gonna get NFTs, and what I've got for you actually is an NFT of one of the characters from this drop that we've done by these incredible Black crypto artists, female crypto artists. You're gonna love it, and it's gonna be very easy for you to get what's going on when you get it because it's a beautiful piece of art. So I'll just start from the bottom. What you said about Elon Musk is true, and some of us do need to get the tech. So as an example, we've got this NFT drop that we're doing at the moment, and 25% of our proceeds goes to the Internet Foundation, where we campaign for rights. But we use it. One of the projects we're supporting is Black women in the blockchain, because we need our people to be writing the code at the base level of all of this. But not everybody has to do that. Not everyone has to understand the internet to use it, right? So I don't think, it's not necessary for everybody to be a developer. It's not necessary for everybody to be a programmer. And NFTs are really exciting in this crypto space because they're really burning up the art world right now. So now we've got this real amazing barnstorm of artists into the crypto space. And this is just changing everything. It's changing the whole culture of crypto. But, if I wanted to, people ask this question a lot, what are NFTs? I'm going to put it in a really simple term, right? An NFT to me, especially where it is right now, and they're going to become other things in the future. But right now, an NFT is just like a unit of culture, right? And what do I mean by that? I mean a unit of culture in a similar way that a CD is a unit of culture. If you go and pick up that Jay-Z, that Nas CD, right? That's culture in your hand, right? It's an art. It's art that they've produced, and okay, or a film. Pick up a DVD. It's a
I could
unit.
watch and listen to that though.
Yeah, you can watch and listen. There's music as NFTs now. There's films coming as NFTs. Basically, all
How is a film an NFT? What do I play it on?
um, through so all an NFT does. The problem, here's the thing: the digital world, the digital space. The problem with the digital space has always been, from a media and art perspective, right? Is that when you make something digital, it's easy to copy. So remember Napster and the music industry? It's the same technology, by the way, peer-to-peer, that Bitcoin is built on. This basic BitTorrent peer-to-peer technology is the kind of fundamental principle. The difference is that there's no central party, and that's what Napster started with. There were no central parties. You could just, once you got that record, you ripped the CD, and then you could just make millions of copies, right? And just sell it.
Send it. We were sending
Oh,
it
send
once,
it,
right?
send it,
Right.
just copy it. And, everybody was doing pirate films. We all did it, right? Pirate films, pirate CDs. I know we're on public radio, but it's just reality. It's cool. That's what we did. But the thing that blockchain and crypto do is, what they allow you to do is to create a digital thing that can't be replicated, cannot be copied. Now, it's a little bit more complicated than that, because the reality is, what it really gives you is a receipt for something. When it comes to money, you can't copy money. But when it comes to a digital item like a record or a picture or a book or a song, what it gives you is a receipt for that proves that's an original, and that receipt cannot be copied. The real secret about this data thing that is really going to change the game is that it's worth money, and it's worth money to you, and a lot of money to you. And I think this is
How is my data worth money to me? We're talking, of course, with Dele Atanda. How? Explain it.
I mean, look, I give you the simple example I'll give you here is like clinical trials. The average cost of recruiting someone to a clinical trial for anything is $20,000.
Wait a minute. Stop. What?
Yeah,
I didn't know
exactly.
that. They pay
Yeah.
people to be a part of these trials?
They don't, that's the thing. They don't pay people. They pay agencies and they pay marketeers and they spend $20,000 to identify the right person. So if you actually had an illness or some exotic, and think about that, right? And you shared that data with a marketplace or whatever in a privacy preserving way where you could get paid thousands of dollars for that. So this is the new model that's coming.
But you want us to have control. And someone on Twitter said the pharmacist was misleading because the DOJ has to petition to get that information. It's not just readily uploaded. Your claim data does not go directly into the DOJ. She says she knows because I work for a healthcare tech company in their legal department, and specifically in the pharmacy division. I love this audience because there's gonna be somebody you can't misinform this audience because there's somebody out there that's like, that's not true. These are the facts. I appreciate you. And let me give the Twitter name, Ms. Black and Blue. Chocolate.
Black and Blues, she's bang on it because I think that is part of the issue. There's a lot of data that's out there, and you're right, all this data is out there. It's not so much about the data being out there, it's about being able to control who can use it and under what context. And we have the rule of law that enforces that, and we have the tech to enforce that. So I think that's that's how the tech starts to help us solve this problem, where we can enforce our rules on that data.